I've read 50 books in 2025, and with it being a new year, I wanted to share every single book I read. I know I've been a bit MIA on my YouTube channel as of recently. There's just been a lot going on, and I'll probably do a little sit-down video talking about that a bit more. I just have not been in the mental capacity to sit and film, but these are my favorite videos to watch and record in the new year, so I wanted to make sure I made it. And again, I'm not going to go in order of what I actually read. I split them up into genres like I did last year. It worked really well, so we're going to continue that this year. And if you have read any of these books, let me know in the comments down below, and I'd love to chat with you about it. Let's start with romance books. Now, I wanted to see what the hype was with Ali Hazelwood, so I picked up The Love Hypothesis, and I'm not sure, actually I am pretty sure, that I rated this a 5-star because of the time I read it. And you know when a book just hits you perfectly at the perfect time? That's what this book did to me. I absolutely loved it. It was so cheesy and cute. Like, I cannot wait for the movie. There are some very cringy moments in it, but you just gotta look past that, as I do with most romance books. Most romance books cringe me out, which is why I don't read them a ton, but I've really enjoyed this one. And because I enjoyed this one so much, I picked up another one by her, Love on the Brain, very similar to The Love Hypothesis. And since I read them, I think back to back, or very close to being back to back, I didn't love this one quite as much, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I gave it 4 stars. The plot twist was so obvious throughout it, so obvious. And because of that, you're kind of screaming, like, just figure it out. Other than that, if you liked that one, you'd probably like this one too. And I'm surprised I like these as much as I do, because I am not a science girly at all. I don't enjoy science. I never have. I thought it was interesting. Love in Other Words, probably tied for my favorite romance book of all time. I cannot wait to reread this. I read it, I think, in 1 or 2 sittings. Could not put it down. It had me laughing out loud. It had me crying. Something about this story gripped me so much. It's my first Christina Lauren book, and only. I want to read more of their books, but I wasn't sure what to think with it being 2 authors that were co-writing together. The way it's structured with flashing back and forward to present time and then when they were kids together, it wrapped up so well. I would 100% recommend. If you take any of the romance books I read last year, please let it be this one. Pick it up and give it a read. The last Taylor Jenkins Reid book I had to read before her newest release came out was Forever Interrupted. Now I'm totally caught up on every book she's ever written. I'm a huge fan of hers, and I could tell that this was an older read. Nothing bad about it. I just didn't feel connected to the main character. Very tragic story. And I think if you're going through grief, this would be a great one to pick up if you want something to relate to, because she always has some very wise lesson that you can take away from the book. I didn't enjoy it a ton because it was so heavy and sad, and I didn't feel connected. 3 stars, not a bad rating at all. I would still recommend it. Speaking of Taylor's newest release, it came out in 2025, Atmosphere. I know my review of 3 stars is an unpopular take because most people I saw review this online absolutely loved it. I didn't feel like it hit me, and maybe it was just the time I was reading it, but I was really excited for it. I think what tanked my rating from me going in expecting this to be a 5-star read was that I was more interested in the historical fiction setting and what was happening with that than I was with the romance. And I know it's a love story, but if this would have just been purely a historical fiction about women in NASA, I would have loved it, I think. I loved all the elements of it, but it didn't hit for me. That's just kind of the way it goes. And sometimes when you get so excited about a new release, that tends to happen for me. I have a few that I don't have physical copies of, so I want to make sure I don't forget them. Okay, we have Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Did not enjoy this at all. I gave it a 1 star or 2 star. One of the characters, every time she had page time, made my blood boil, and I could feel my anxiety spiking. This was not for me at all. But it was her new release last year, and since I enjoyed Love on the Brain and The Love Hypothesis so much, I wanted to pick it up. I actively disliked this book. I also read Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Honestly, very disappointed by it. The more I thought about it and sat with it, the less I liked it. I loved the concept of it. And again, I was more interested in the secondary plot than I was with the romance Not a good sign when you're reading a romance. Because of that, I gave it a 3-star. I've read Emily Giffen's Summer Pack. This may be one of, and this is gonna be harsh, but one of the worst books I have ever read. I definitely gave it a 1 star. Don't let the cover deceive you because it is a beautiful cover, but everything about it was bad. Okay, that wraps up the romance section. So let's go into mystery thrillers. I got a big stack here of those. I've been trying to get into them more. It's one of my favorite genres, but I am very picky about them and it's really hard for me to find ones I love, but I'm trying to just enjoy reading them and not look for a 5-star read because it is very hard for me to find a 5-star mystery or thriller. So if you have any recommendations, please let a girl know. We're gonna start with Frida McFadden because I've read quite a few of her books. At the end of last year, we have The Teacher. Did not like this one. 2 stars. So uncomfortable to read. So uncomfortable to read, but I wanted to figure out what was gonna happen, even though it was pretty obvious. But there was something at the end that I wasn't expecting to happen. You know, classic Frida twist at the very end of a book. Would not recommend it. There are some disgusting things that happen in this one. We have The Crash. Again, 2 stars. The thing about her books is they're such fast, easy reads that it's fun to read them. I enjoy reading all these, otherwise I wouldn't finish them. But do I think they're a good book? No. There are some of hers that I like, but this is one, again, that I was not my favorite. I would not recommend it. I loved the plot of it, but it felt very anticlimactic. Like nothing ended up happening with it. Not super memorable to me either. Boyfriend, I think I gave this one 3 stars, but I might have given it 2. But I was not expecting the outcome of this one, but it's still, I don't know, did not hit for me. Didn't feel super twisty. I don't know, even though I didn't expect it, there wasn't a ton going on. For D, I gave 3 stars. I know that. Not my favorite, but this would make a great movie. The thing, like, you have no idea what's going on when you're reading this. You're trying to figure out what's happening. I don't know, like, it was fine. Again, 3 stars. Never Lie was the first book I read by her, and it had me absolutely gasping throughout the whole thing. I gave it 4 stars. It could have been a reading order thing. It could have been because it was the first book by her I read. This and one of her other ones that I've read in 2026 so far. You'll have to see that in next year's reading wrap up unless you follow me on Goodreads, and you can see my ratings as they come out. This one was great. Again, it must have been probably because it was the first one by hers I read, but even looking back after reading several of her books, I think this one was done well. It was very twisty. You don't know what's happening, but nothing is real. My best friend recommended this one to me and she felt the same way, and I had my mom read it after and she felt the same way. Out of all the Frida books I read last year, I'd recommend this one the most. I read Holly Jackson's new release that came out last year, Not Quite Dead Yet. The concept of this one of the most unique concepts I have ever heard of when it comes to a mystery book. I loved it. Holly Jackson's my favorite mystery author. The way she writes, the plot, the characters always hits for me. This one didn't hit quite as much as her other ones, but it was still a 4-star read and a high 4-star. Like, I considered giving it 5 stars. I don't know. There's just something about it that was unsatisfying for me. I would still recommend for sure. Okay, now we have a little mystery series, The Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I did not enjoy the Inheritance Games by her, and I didn't realize, or I guess I just didn't put 2 and 2 together, that this was the same author when I started these. And I'm glad I didn't, because I probably wouldn't have picked these up. But I will say, if you love the show Criminal Minds, you need to go pick these up immediately. Reading these feels like watching the TV show, but with a young adult setting. They're fantastic. I absolutely love them. I will reread them. One day I have my mom reading them right now, and she just finished the first one and loved it. They get better as you go. I know I gave the first one a 4-star just because I didn't feel super connected to the characters yet, but it was still a great mystery. I loved it. Second one, I think I also gave a 4-star. And once I got to the third one, 5-star. Breezing through it. And then the last one was also a 5-star read for me. Okay, I have my ones that I don't have physical copies of. I might just have 1. No, I have 2. I read Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. I did not like this book at all. I think I rated it 2 stars because there were some good things about it, but it was boring, and the way it was structured was not good if you want to be, I'm trying to think of how to put this. If you want to be on the edge of your seat, I wasn't at all throughout this. It felt unsatisfying the way it was set up and also the outcome and everything. I would not recommend that one. I also read Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True, and I think I'm just not a huge fan of hers. I've read another one of her books in the past, and maybe I'll give her one more shot, but I think she's just not the author for me, which is fine because she's a very popular author. I enjoyed reading this one and seeing what was happening, but it was another case of it being unsatisfying for me. It left me confused, felt anticlimactic. I think that is another unpopular opinion. I did audiobook that one when I had my deviated septum surgery, and I would just lay there listening to it. So it was entertaining enough to get through, and I would recommend the audiobook because it is narrated very well. I read The Housemaid, not by Frida McFadden, but by Sarah A. Denzel. I got it on my Libby app and I picked the wrong book, and I accidentally read the entire thing before realizing it was not a Frida book. The whole time I was reading it, I was really confused what the hype was, and then realizing it was the wrong book. And I read the Goodreads review, and apparently that has happened to several people. I gave it 2 stars. I did not like it, and that was, again, before I even knew it was the wrong book. In between genres, I'm snacking on my berries, in case you were wondering. I have a few little miscellaneous genres that I'm gonna put in here before I jump into my biggest genre of the year. It's a shocker. I wonder if you can guess what that genre is, and I am being completely sarcastic in case you're not picking up what I'm putting down. We are going to start with the dystopian. Of course, I read Sunrise on the Reaping. I did a whole reading vlog on this earlier this year, right when it came out. So if you want my complete thoughts on this book, it is devastating. I think the thing I'm most excited for in 2026 is this movie. I'm so excited. Like, I could cry thinking about it. Absolute 5-star read. I will be rereading this again before the movie comes out because I apparently don't like myself and want myself to suffer by going through this story again. I have a very entertaining reading vlog of me sobbing up on my channel, so go check that out. I also read The Selection. I never did as a child. I never did, and I wanted to see what the hype was about. I gave it 2 stars, and I think that is purely because I'm not a little kid. I think if I read that when I was maybe 10, I would have enjoyed it, but objectively, it was not good. I'm sorry if that is one of your beloved childhood books. I'm aware that I am a 21-year-old girl reading it. I'm probably not gonna enjoy it. And then I also read Silver Elite because I wanted to see what the hype was about, and this book actually infuriates me. It was not good. Honestly, a mockery of what dystopian books are supposed to be about. Like, the juxtaposition of this book with Silver Elite is laughable. That's all I'm gonna say. I gave it 2 stars, and that's me being generous. There's just something about that book that irks me a lot. I guess I only read one nonfiction memoir last year, which I need to fix that this year because I usually read quite a bit more nonfiction than this, but I had to read The House of Your Mother by Sherry Frankie because I have been following that whole fiasco, is a light word to put to the situation, since everything came out. And if you know anything about it, even if you don't, I would recommend picking up this book. I listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by her. It is heartbreaking, but I am so thankful she wrote this so we could hear her perspective of everything that went down in this house, the house that she grew up in. My heart goes out for these kids. It's absolutely terrible, but beautifully written, had me gripped throughout the entire thing. And then my only other general fiction book I read this year is Frederick Bachman's Anxious People. Something about this book hit me so hard. It had me laughing. It is a comedy. Not expecting that. I went into it blind, and I honestly would recommend you do that too. The concept of the plot is so interesting. It is so funny, but there are, in classic Frederick Bachman style, the amount of deep messages he has there. I don't annotate my books, but if I did, I would be annotating the crap out of this one. It was beautiful, and I will be rereading it, and it's a fast, easy read. The only classic I've read in 2025 was Dracula. Honestly, pretty long. I gave it 3 stars. When I tell people what I think about it, I usually just say I understand what it did in its time when it came out. I could see how it was super spectacular then, but reading this now, I found it very underwhelming. I didn't find it scary. I wanted it to be scarier. year. I saw the potential in it, and again, I just hate doing that since it's a classic book, but it was not my favorite classic at all. I gave it 3 stars. I just felt kind of indifferent to it. Now it is time to tackle the big beast of the year, the fantasy section, where I spend the most amount of time reading. So, okay, we're gonna start off with some new releases. I read Fearless from the Powerless series. I gave this one 4 or 5 stars. I can't remember, but I loved it. I was really sad to let the story go because I love this trilogy, and I'm really glad she kept it as a trilogy and didn't drag it on like some authors do with fantasy books and make it a 5+ book series. Nothing extremely special about it, but it's so cute, and I was satisfied with the ending and how it all connected back together. I'd recommend this trilogy if you have not yet read it. And then this novella came out, Fearful, which follows the events of Fearless. Did not like this one. I gave it a 2 stars. It felt very unnecessary. I was bored. I didn't care. And I was only reading it so I could feel complete with the series, and it's very short, so it wasn't anything super daunting. If you want to skip the novellas, I would say read Powerful, the other novella, and then don't read this one. And then now going on to probably my favorite fantasy books I read of 2025, and that is the Infernal Devices trilogy. These were all 5-star reads for me, starting at Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess. These books, I'm not kidding, the chokehold that these books have on me, I think about them often. I even went to visit the bridge that has to do with the series while I was in London because of how much these books mean to me. Had me sobbing, they had me so stressed out, they had me laughing, smiling, all the emotions. I love them so much. This is coming from someone who read The Mortal Instruments as a child, which is like the series that is the most popular of Cassandra Clare's books. I was scared to dip my toes into any of her other work because I didn't want it to taint core childhood memory of those books getting me into reading in the first place. But these exceeded my expectations, and now I'm going to be reading her whole backlog, and I hope to finish them in 2026 because I actually could cry thinking about how they end. If you know, you know, and that's all I'm gonna say. But if I could recommend you any fantasy books, I'd recommend these 3, even if you haven't read The Mortal Instruments, but I would recommend reading The Mortal Instruments before you read The Infernal Devices. I read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, this duology by Rachel Gillig. Her writing and the plot of these books, so unique from any fantasy book I've ever read. Like the tactile feel of the magic, I could feel it as I was reading it. Her writing is beautiful. I love the story. I wasn't super connected to it or the characters, which is why I gave it 4 stars. I loved them. I thought they were great, and I would recommend them for sure. I'm not a huge gothic fantasy person, but I did enjoy the setting of this one a lot. Very different from any other fantasy book I've ever read. Rebecca Yaros's newest release, Onyx Storm, the 3rd book in the Fourth Wing series, and I was very disappointed with this one. I gave it a 3 stars. I was just bored the entire time. I felt like there were too many plot holes. We were trying to do too much at once, but also nothing was happening. It's a mixed bag with reviews I see on this one. I don't know, like at this point I'm like, do I want to continue the series? I probably will because I am invested in it. This was my least favorite by far out of all of them, which makes it hard for me to want to pick up the next book that will come out. Who knows when it'll come out. That was an unfortunate thing. I read The Cruel Prince trilogy, The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. These books I gave 3 stars each. Nothing super special about them. They were not my favorite by any means. They were fun to read. They just felt kind of unremarkable, but they weren't bad. I wouldn't discourage anyone from reading them. I wanted to see what the hype was about because you hear so much about this, but I will not be probably reading any of her other books just because her writing style didn't grip me a ton. I started the From Blood and Ash series. I got the first 2 books read by the end of the year. So we have From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Absolutely loved them. They had me hooked, like actually sunk nails into me, and I could not put them down. I loved the characters. I loved the romance. I loved the plot. I loved the setting. I loved everything about them, honestly. This was the perfect blend of romance and fantasy for me. So if you want a good romantasy, please pick up these books. They are so good. They are both 5 stars for me, and I'm currently reading the third one, and so you'll see my rating of the rest of the series by the end of 2026, so stay tuned for that. But so far, so good. I started the Remnant Chronicles because I heard a lot of good things about them, and I heard to read this trilogy before you dive into Dance of Thieves. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but I was not invested in it, so I don't know if I will continue it because there are so many books I want to read, and I just didn't like this one enough to continue reading it or want to. So unless I find myself really gravitating towards it this year, I probably will not finish the series, but this wasn't bad. It did not feel like anything special to me. I've reread Caraval by Stephanie Garber. It was a 4-star read for me. Something so magical and nostalgic about it. It's not my favorite book ever, but I love her writing style. I love how whimsical her books are, and I will probably continue rereading this series. We'll see how much time I get because that was kind of the plan, and then I got swamped with reading other books I haven't read yet, so we'll see, but it was a fun reread. I read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Fell in love with it, could not put it down, and I'm so excited for the second one to come out this year. That is one of my most anticipated releases of 2026. The plot twist had my jaw on the floor. I could not believe it. It was so unique. So unique from any fantasy I've read, so I would recommend this one for sure. And there's dragons in it. I mean, you can tell I love dragons, so my jelly cat. We have 11/22/63, the longest book I read this year. It is almost 1,000 pages long. I loved every second of this book. It is such a classic Stephen King writing style and plot. Probably my favorite book by his, or at least tied for first. I audiobooked this. Would recommend audiobooking it because I was listening to it as I was doing my finals for one of my terms in college, and it got me through my finals. Even if you're not a Stephen King fan, it's not a horror or thriller or anything. It is a fantasy because it has to do with time travel. Could not recommend this one enough. I also read Manacled. This is a fan fiction. I binded it myself so I could have a copy. But this is a Harry Potter fan fiction, an alternative universe if Voldemort won the war. I wanted to read it. I've wanted to read it forever, but with it getting traditionally published to be alchemized in 2025, I wanted to read it before that came out, and I did. Tragic. I cannot wait to read Alchemized, but this was a 5-star read for me. I don't know how you can read it now that it got taken off AO3, but I'm sure there are ways you can find it. I also read A Fate Inked in Blood and A Curse Carved in Bone, that duology. The more I thought about it, the less I liked them. I gave A Fate Inked in Blood 3 stars and A Curse Carved in Bone 2 stars because I actively disliked it as I read it. The more I got into the story, the less I liked it, which it should be the opposite. It wasn't for me. I've heard good things, but it just wasn't for me. Those are all the books I read in 2025. I can't wait to see what books I get to read this year, and thank you so much for being here. I'm hoping to post some more again in 2026, so I'll see you next time.